I welcome you to this.When Media, where sacrifice speaks. Today, I want to talk about empathy over advice. When people are sad or hurt, they usually don't want logic, facts, or solutions. They just want to feel heard and understood. Today I have a story of Rose and Jane on my table, and I would like to share it with you. Rose and Jane were best friends. They went to the same high school. One afternoon, they sat on the bench outside the classroom. Rose looked very sad and stared at her shoes. Her eyes were down. After some time, she looked into Jenny's face, and Jane saw Rose's eyes were so red. "What's wrong?" Jane asked. Rose held up a piece of paper, and that was her mathematics examination. She had performed so badly. Jane was so good at mathematics. She knew why Rose failed the exams. Jane looked at Rose and then to the examination, then back to Rose. "You failed because you play too much. You play too much these days. That's why you fail. Instead of asking me to help you, you always play and using your phone a lot. You always watch movies instead of focusing on your studies." I knew, I definitely knew. You did not revise at all. You just take everything for granted. I knew that you will fail. I knew. As she continued talking, she wanted to tell Rose all of these thoughts. She wanted to give her friend advice on how to study better. But then Jane looked at Rose's face. Rose's shoulders were shaking. Tears ran down her cheeks. Rose did not need a lecture. She did not need advice. She did not need Jane to advise her or to tell her she was wrong. Rose already knew she had messed up. She was just hurt. She was just feeling bad and embarrassed. Immediately, as Jane realized this, she stopped herself. She clamped her mouth just shut. She showed her words, as in she just swallowed her words and let her thoughts go away. Instead of speaking, Jane just sat closer. She just came closer to Rose because she knew that by that moment, that's what she had to do. Jane just came closer to her friend. She placed her hand on Rose's shoulder. "That really sucks, Rose," Jane said quietly. "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry." Rose did not have to defend herself. She did not have to argue about playing a lot, about watching movie too much, or staying for so long on her phone. Because Jane just stayed quiet. So, Rose felt safe. She leaned back and took a deep breath. Yeah, it really hurts, Jane said. Thank you so much for listening. Jane smiled and nodded. She did not say her random thoughts. By keeping her mouth shut, she gave her friend comfort instead of criticizing. So, my dear, to whoever listening to me, my dear ones, sometimes keeping your mouth shut is also an act of kindness. Not every random thought or random thought in your mind needs to be said out loud. Silence creates safety. By keeping your mouth shut, a lot of things you control, you prevent a lot of things. So, by keeping her mouth shut, Jenny created a safe space where Rose could just show her true feelings without fear or criticism. Words can wound. Sharing every random thought can make other person or can make someone feel attacked, judged, or forced to defend themselves. It really wounds, it really wounds and it really hurts. Hope you get that point. Empathy over advice. When people are sad, I repeat, when people are sad or hurt, they usually don't want to, they don't want logic. You get? When they are hurt, they don't want logic. They don't want facts. They don't want solutions. There is a time when you don't need any solution. There is a time when you don't need someone to tell you the fact because you already know that the fact, you already know the truth, and you already know that you feel guilty. So you don't want someone to criticize you. You don't want someone to be telling you that you are wrong. You don't want someone to advise you. There is that period. I know in our lives we all get that moment when you feel guilty and you don't want someone to pin you, to remind you how guilty you are, to remind you how weak you are, your mistake and everything. You get that when someone reaches into that moment, those people or that person just want to feel. You just need to listen. There's a moment when you just need to listen to someone and to be by his or her side. So they just want to feel heard and understood. In all moments, or sometimes, mostly before criticizing someone, before judging someone, first give her space. Sometimes you just need to listen. Sometimes you just need to keep quiet. Sometimes you just need to keep your mouth shut. You get? So in all this timing or in all this situation, timing is always matters a lot. Timing matters a lot because sometimes helpful advice is only useful when other person is calm and already is ready to hear. For example, if someone is passing through a lot, it's better you leave that person to at least reaching that healing stage. That's when you advise her. But before that, you don't need to criticize her. You don't need to advise her. You don't need to blame her. You don't need to pin her. You get? So in all this, timing matters, because helpful advice is only useful when the other person is calm and ready to hear it, not when they are actively crying or upset. You see someone crying, you see someone is just there, and you're like, why you did this? I knew, yeah, yeah, you wouldn't have done this, you didn't have said, you know. So when someone is calm, when someone is relaxed, when you get, that's when the be strong, take a heart, and other statement, that's when they will matter more. But during this stage, during this stage of crying, uh, you don't need, there is a period or there is a moment when you don't need someone to tell you, take a deep breath, take a deep breath, be strong. When you get,